One of our fellow Marines is attempting a 615-pound squat. Could we have some quiet, please?
It's a stark reminder when the cloak of anonymity descends.
Sometime today would be nice. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. I wanted to talk today a little bit about training philosophy. As you all know, this is my last week before deloading, and then I compete on the 7th. I'm going to compete here at Camp Rhino, Las Vegas, Nevada. Anybody in town interested, come watch an old man possibly beat all the young guys. Now, the last local meet I did, I had the highest total of the meet. All ages, all weight classes. Number one, right here. There was a couple of attempts that would have beat me, but they didn't get the lifts for whatever reasons. But yeah, I'm going to try it one more time. And this time, this has been a really, really interesting training going into this competition, because my intentions are to still compete at the WRPF Nationals in October. So I'm kind of treating this meet as like part of it's like a tune-up. It's part of the training schedule. And I've done everything wrong going into this. I'm not on a cycle of anything outside of my normal, and I really didn't do a program. All I did was I looked at the calendar, saw that I had 4 or 5 weeks, and I just basically did as much volume with as much weight as I could for 3 weeks straight. And now I'm going to take a deload, and hopefully when I get ready to compete, I'll be at my strongest because I'll be rested up. My numbers aren't the greatest, but they're far from the worst. I'm still squatting over 600. I'm still benching right in that 380 range with a pause. I've hit 405 a few times, but it was touch and go. And, people were like, you ain't got deep, use an arch. Like, whatever. My deadlift is still mid 600s. I haven't really maxed that out. So I'm going to go into this meet, and I'm going to open with a mid 1500s total. That's what I'm starting with. And at a local meet, generally speaking, that already puts me in the top 10. I mean, there's usually 1 or 2 monsters that show up that could beat me. And there's some strong people that would potentially, if they got their lifts, beat me. But generally speaking, at the higher end, people miss their third attempts regularly. So I have another chance of getting best lifter again. We'll see. It's been a weird one, man. I'm just went into this as like bro science lifting. I don't know. I didn't prep for it at all. But the one thing I had going for me is that I really never lost any strength. I did maintenance lifting, so I kept my levels right around where they were at the end of this last competition. The cool thing about maintenance lifting is if you're not maxing out, if you're not trying to move 100% of your body's capacity, and you're going right up to that 95%, you can do that relatively easily with a moderate amount of volume and what would be considered minimal effort. Let's say your max bench is 350 pounds, and you wanted to keep 350 pounds as your max bench. You could theoretically just bang out 335 for sets of 3 once a week, and that's nothing, and you would not lose any strength. Maybe it'll be 345, but you'd be right there. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't take much to maintain, and that's essentially what I did. Is I just never detrained. Now, because of the massive amount of volume I'm doing, and my age, I'm 50, which is not old, but for training purposes, there are some implications with recovery. I think what I'm going to do after this meet is I'm going to take an entire 30 days off, a month, completely off from lifting, and I'm just going to let my body heal. I was watching some presentations from our friend Dr. Mike Israetel, Renaissance Periodization, and he makes a really good case for doing a once-a-year deload for people that are really pushing it, like guys that are breaking their bodies down, high-end competitors, bodybuilders, powerlifters, strongmen, guys that are just always going and they're always pushing the max. They're always hitting AMRAPs. Guys that just don't know how to stop. Taking a month off can really just recalibrate. It resets everything. It allows your body to heal. Like, we do deload weeks. You go, what is it, every 4 weeks generally? is a deload. Why? Well, it's to give your body sufficient rest so that you can then test all the work that you did to see if you've made any gains. That's generally speaking, that 5th week is where we're going to PR. It's where we're going to go see if we've actually got any work done. Well, think about what a month off will do. Now, you'll be totally detrained. You'll be deflated. If you're on PEDs, you knock those out and you maybe go down to a minimal TRT dose. You're probably not going to look that great. But when you go into the gym, everything's going to be like it's new again. You know, you're going to be resensitized to PEDs. You're going to get those newbie gains, you know, roughly speaking. And within that first month, you should just be in the best shape you've ever been in your life, theoretically. I recommend checking this video out. It's a more long-term growth. Take a month off for massive gains. Renaissance Periodization. Link in the description. He makes a really, really awesome argument for taking an entire month off. If the caveat being, if you're the type of lifter that's really, really, really pushing it, you know if you need a month off. Now, number one thing is consistency. If you show up and you do your 3 times a week, and you show up every week, you're going to probably get good results. But there's guys that take it to the next step. You know who you are, and they are just constantly going. They're constantly trying to max out. And you see them on YouTube. Every video is a max effort video. We can consider myself in that. I do know when to back off, but there's guys that just don't have an off switch. They just go, and then what happens? We get injured. You don't see them for a month, and then they're starting over. And they're just always there at that same level, never making any meaningful gains over years. My bench press is for about 385 right now, we'll say. Gun to my head, I think I can get 385 with a pause, no problem. Maybe 400. We'll see. I don't know. But I've been saying the same thing for 3 years? Now, I did have that shoulder injury, which set me back immensely. I had to start from scratch. So you could say that the comeback I made to get to 400 is in itself impressive, and maybe if I wouldn't have gotten hurt, maybe I would have a 450-pound bench. But for all intents and purposes, the argument is, have I made any meaningful gains over that period of time? My bench is exactly the same. So what am I doing wrong? Maybe I'm at my max genetic potential. Maybe I'm just not at this body weight able to lift anymore. Or maybe I'm approaching training wrong and I just need to back off. Maybe take a break. Maybe recalibrate. And then when I come back, maybe start doing some lighter weight, higher volume stuff as if I was just starting out again. His video, it's got a prescription for not only why to take the month off, but how to take the month off, and more importantly, what to do when you come back from that month. Because most injuries occur when we're at a state of doing nothing to a state of doing a lot, injury. So you don't want to just jump right back into it and push yourself like you never stopped working out. We have people like us, the loonies. We have this mentality that if we're just not breaking ourselves, we're not making any gains, and it's very unscientific. And that's the reason why we're always hurt. In other news, I had a weird thing happen. Now, any of you following my channel, you guys know that I've been training to become a pugilist. I did a lot of kickboxing when I was in my 20s, and now you can make the argument that I wasn't very good or didn't have that much training, but I did a lot of kickboxing, and now I'm actually trying to learn boxing, the sweet science. So I have a professional coach at a professional gym, and I'm starting to wonder if maybe I shouldn't have found some place that's a little bit more geared towards new people. Now, for me, being an elite level power lifter, I'm thinking, screw that. I want the best. I want the guy that's actually trained professionally. I want the guy that's actually fought professionally. I want the guy that's trained real professional fighters like Manny Pacquiao. This guy's legitimate. He's a real coach, but because he's a real coach, he takes his gym super serious. And I don't think he likes me being in there. Why? Well, in a boxing gym, I am a fucking gorilla. I am the biggest guy in there, and everybody just immediately sees me when they walk in the door, and they're like, holy shit. Compared to boxers, I'm freaking huge. And I'm usually like all pumped because I've been sweating, hitting the bag or the mitts or whatever. So I'm all veiny and sweaty, and they're just like, Jesus. And I'm older, generally speaking. Coach Paulie and I are the same age, so he's like 50. Maybe he's a year older than me. I don't know. We're right around the same age. So there's this tendency, like when people walk in, they come up to me and say hi. They introduce themselves, and he's always telling me, "Don't talk to anybody." Like I got to, you're not a trainer, and like I'm like, yeah, no shit, asshole. Oh, but they come up and say hi to me. Like, what do you want me to do? Tell them to fuck off? Like, hi, I'm Joey. Joey the dick, Joey. Like, get away from me. I'm friendly. I'm like, hey, I'm Charlie. What's up, brother? And no, you can't talk to those guys. And it's usually like kids that are under the age of 18. Well, I get it. With minors, you don't want some creepy old dude talking to fucking kids. I get that. My kids are there with me. So that I understand. But then it's like, some 17-year-old, 16-year-old kid comes up and introduces himself. I don't see a problem with that, especially when we're in an environment. I mean, generally speaking, the parents are there often, so I've already said hi to them. For whatever reason, people just kind of gravitate to me. They come and say hello. I'm the oddity in the corner. Like, what the hell? Like, what's this silverback gorilla doing over there, like, throwing the furniture around, Well, I was having a stressful day yesterday, like, really stressful. Like, I was angry. And I'm a gentleman that likes to keep my composure. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to blow off some steam at the gym. So I went in there and I told Coach Paulie, I said, you know what? I'm having a really rough day, and I would love to get some sparring in. And, he immediately had this concerned look on his face, and he's looking around the gym, and he's looking to see who he could pair me up with. And he's like, I don't know. And he's like, he's got a fight on Saturday, and, most of the kids in there are getting ready to fight. So he's like, well, I mean, what are we talking about? We're just, like, doing some light, like, what do you think I'm going to, like, I would most likely get my ass kicked in a real fight. Like, these guys are good boxers. Like, I'm still learning. But Coach says that I consistently am like one of the hardest hitters in the gym. I got my strength, plus he's been improving my hitting technique. So when you take somebody that's already strong and you introduce a little bit of technique, you get something that's really dangerous. So I understand that if I hit someone as hard as I could, I would kill them. I get that. But I'm not that good. Like, I still have issues with defense, dropping the hands, and leaving the ribs open. Like, these guys would tune me up. So, like, what's the issue? And then there was a couple guys, like, one of two things. He either thinks I'm not good enough and maybe I would get hurt, or he thinks I would hurt them because I'm not smart enough to know how hard to go. And whatever his reasons are, it's really starting to piss me off. Because every time we go in there later in the evenings, that's when they do sparring. So earlier in the day, they do cardio. They have different sessions during the day, cardio, weightlifting, training, whatever kind of training they're doing. But at the end of the day is usually when guys take turns getting in the ring and squaring off with each other. And then everybody watches and critiques, and it's like a whole thing. Well, I am the only one, and it's been, well over a month now. He won't pair me up with anybody except to do like light touch drills. Like, you go, and then I go, and then you go. And I'm like, what are we doing? Why will you not let me fight anybody? And if you're worried about me getting my ass kicked, I fully, like, I can take it. You know what I mean? I don't really think there's anybody in there that could hurt me, to be honest with you. I mean, well, I don't know. Some of those kids are pretty good. But, me shelled up. What are you going to do to me? You know what I mean? Like, what? You weigh 135 pounds. No, there's a couple guys. I think, yeah, I am the biggest dude in there. Like, I'm 220, and the next largest guy I saw was maybe 175, and he's a judokan. Like, that guy would murder me. Like, he would straight up kill me. Like, that. He's closer to my age, too. I don't think he would be interested in sparring me because I think I'm so below his skill level. Like, if anything, he'd be doing me a huge favor. I've asked him to do like work, and he does that. But like an actual sparring match, like he's really good. Like, this guy is legitimate. I don't know. It's just frustrating. It just sucks, man. like just like when I was a kid, the last kid picked for the football team or the basketball, and I brought the ball though. You have to let me play, or I'll take my shit and go home. But I'm just standing there, just like, yeah, I'll go hit the heavy bag. Yeah, sure, all right. I don't know what I'm doing anymore. I want to shout out 2 lifters, Ego Lift Daily and Gravestrong. I see in you 2 kindred spirits. You guys, Gravestrong, you garage lifter, much like me. He just likes to put as much bar on the weight on the bar and get after it. Man after my own heart. It's all I've ever wanted to do is just lift heavy things. And then it wasn't until I got on YouTube where the forum Nazis were like, that rep doesn't count. I'm like, count for what? Well, it didn't go all the way down and up. I'm like, I'm exercising. Like, did it count for exercise? Like, we're training in our garage here, people, not competing at the Olympics. What do you want from me? Like guys that just like to grip and rip. And ego lift, you are the man. I was watching your videos, and your squat is astronomical. Your bench is on point. I haven't seen too much of your deadlift, but from what I've seen, like with you pulling stuff out of the rack and all that, I'm sure that's on par with the rest of them. My point being, if you were to compete, sir, a competition cycle or 2 where you really did something like the Candido, the 6 week or something along those lines, where you smash and grab a ton of volume and then at the end you taper and then do your PRs, but you'd be really shocked with what your numbers would be. And I would love nothing more than to watch both of you guys put on a singlet and get on the platform, preferably under the federation, like something like the USPA. I'm not biased or anything. Man, I think you guys would be top of your weight classes. You would be elite lifters, and I enjoy both of your contents. I enjoy guys that just like to lift. They're not pretentious. They're not pretty. They're strong. They just get after it. There's just whatever. Comment section be damned. Oh, the comment section. Oh, Lord have mercy. Everybody's a coach, but no one competes. How do you do that? Where's the math on that? They're like, oh, that 400-pound bench you did there didn't go down all the way. It touched my chest. Yeah, but you have an arch. I do, yes. It doesn't count. Count for what? It counts in competition. It doesn't count for me. And you are again? I don't know. What happens if I do your bench? Do I get like a Happy Meal prize or something? Then you ask him, like, well, what's your biggest bench? And they're like, yeah, I hit 315. Like, yeah, I can do perfect reps at 315 with no arch and my feet up in the air. Like, that's warm-up weight. It's like, okay. Am I salty? Does that sound salty to you? Maybe a little. I don't know. Like, put up or shut up. That's all I'm saying. Now, every competition I do this. I don't know what it is. So, when I'm squatting alone in the garage, I get under the weight, you maybe just got off work, whatever, maybe the nutrition is not on point, I'm fasted, I haven't eaten all day, maybe a little dehydrated, and for whatever reason, the weight feels heavier than it should. And I do it anyways, I get under it, I want to get those numbers, but then, if I'm not really laser focused, when I squat down, I'll forget to open my hips up, which is when you're squatting, you got to just open your hips, which allows me to sink into it. Otherwise, if I don't open my hips, there's a natural impingement, which kind of stops the squat kind of high. And, with that much weight on your back, it's already tenuous when you're walking it out. And I'm just thinking, just get the weight back up. And, a lot of times I'm not hitting depth. And I do this every competition, and that's why I do these tune-up lifting sessions and why I video everything. So, I'll still post the video. I hit 615 pounds, and I inevitably get the comments for saying, well, you didn't go down all the way. Yeah, I know. I do this every damn time I compete. But then usually what happens at competition, you're just so amped up. You're just ready to get after it, and everything feels light. And you're just hitting them together. Am I hitting depth? And it just works out, The last competition that third attempt I went for was 639 pounds. And when I was coming back up, I misstepped and came out of the groove, so the lift got red lighted and they took the weights from me. But I noticed in the video, I wouldn't have gotten the squat anyways because I didn't quite go down all the way. So it's not to say that when you have more weight on your back than your body can handle, even if you are amped out of your mind, you still have, you physically still need to be able to do the lift. It's like, so maybe I overshot by 5 pounds or something, or, you know, whatever. I mean, not every attempt's going to count. But generally speaking, I have never bombed out of any competition for squats. Came close. Holy crap, my comeback meet, which was in Vista, California, and I want to say 2019, I had 1 attempt left. I got called for the first 2, and I literally told the judge, I can't go down any farther. Like, that's it. That's all I got. And he looked at me and he's like, hey, man. So everything I had, I buried it. And that's when I was still wearing Vans. I was wearing flat tennis shoes as opposed to lifting shoes. Because I saw, like, I was looking at the video and I'm like, how does that not count? So what was happening, I was like, from the front, it looks like it counts because I'm pancaking. So I am going as low as I can, but the hips got to come down. See what I'm saying? Like, you could touch your knees, that's as low as you can go. But if you're too far forward on your feet, you know, your feet being the fulcrum, the lever, and you got your, you're still like, here's your back, here's your head, you know, you go, you pancake, like this is your hip crease, and this is your knees. Doesn't count, even though you're down all the way. You can't go any farther. You got to go. Ooh, you got to get them hips back there. So now, how do you do that? So if this is your pivot point, generally speaking, if you bring the weight higher up on the lever, it automatically is going to sit you back in your center of gravity because now the weight's here instead of here. So if the weight's here, the center of gravity is going to be here. Pancake. The weight's here, you have to be back. So by manipulating the weight a little bit higher on my back and making sure that I opened up my hips, does it take away from strength? Yes. Yeah. Generally speaking, if you're a low bar squatter and you cheat the bar up to a high bar position, it's going to require more quad activation as opposed to glutes and your back. So if your quads are the weak point in your chain, the squat will be harder. Now, that's why I train with the camber bar, because the camber bar, because it's got that 4-inch bend, the weight gets moved farther forward, even though the bar is still in a low bar position, where the weight would be here, it's now here, which brings the center of gravity back up more like a high bar squat. And if I'm training exclusively with that camber bar, when I switch to low bar, I now have all of the quad strength that I need if I need to cheat back a little bit more and sink more depth. That's the theory anyways. And that's got to be 2 minutes of bro science right there. But no, there really is. I do actually apply some scientific principles to this stuff. I use my barbell tracker, so I'm tracking bar path, velocity, force, and we're actually measuring momentum, lever arms. So your lever arm being every lever has a pivot point or a fulcrum. Now, if your entire body is considered the lever, your feet, that's your fulcrum. And then from there, it's just a matter of centering the weight to get, do you want more quad activation? Do you want more hip activation? So generally speaking, the farther forward the weights are, the higher, and to include a front squat, which is all the way forward. If you look at like Olympic lifters, it's all quads. They're all quads. And then, of course, when they come up, they're activating their glutes and their back, and it just turns into a giant arm that pushes that weight forward. But power lifters are generally all glutes and all back there because your glutes are way, way, way stronger than your quads. Well, me being a lighter lifter, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to evenly distribute the force so that I'm using everything, my quads, my glutes, my back, everything. I want everything to fire in unison. And whether I cheat that bar forward or backwards, I'm still trying to fire all those at the same time. And that's why a guy my weight, 220 pounds, is able to squat 650. You know, it's not just about strength. There's a lot of squatters my size that can't squat nearly as much as me, but will absolutely have the potential to, once they tune their squat to their body. Once you figure out your mechanics and you figure out how to distribute that weight perfectly so that you're using all of your advantages, you will unlock a strength that you didn't even know you had before, and you're just displaying that with the weights on your back. It's as simple as that. I'm not any stronger than a lot of guys. I just know how to use my body better. But I still have problems with depth. I don't know where it comes from. I don't know if it's fear. It's like a mental block. I get scared when I get down there. Like, I'm not, especially when I'm lifting alone in the garage and I don't have a spotter. Like, it's a come to Jesus moment down there, man. I'll tell you what, when you're trying to PR and you got 630 plus pounds on your back and you're down in the hole, and then time slows down and you're like, oh no. And then when you start moving and you get up there and you're like, yeah, I got it. Or you're like, no. It's all bad. I have no spotters. I'm going to die. That's when you just keep the weight and just lean forward into the rack. And hopefully I set my spotter arms to catch it. Oof, yeah, no, it's real. It's what I do in my garage is extremely dangerous. And I do not take that for granted, especially ever since that day where I almost killed myself with the camber bar when I was benching. Like, dude, that changed me as a person. I'm telling you right now, like, I felt like I was going to die. I really did. For a brief few seconds there, which seemed like an eternity, I really thought, this is it. And I'm going to film it so everyone can see it. Great. Awesome. But, luckily, God still has a plan for me. I hope so. Oh, man. Hey, maybe my plan is to just spread the message of safety to my fellow lifters and to not take this for granted. Tomorrow is promised to no one, my friends. Take advantage of your blessings and be grateful. I'll end this video with something fun. Now, there's really only one comment I saw that I thought was like maybe could be humorous to discuss. It was Justin Brittany Walker, and that was 5 days ago. And he writes, "Is bro toenails painted?" And I said, yeah, 50-year-old toenails are ugly as AF. Trust me, painting them black looks way better. You got them old 50-year-old toenails, and even if you I wear boots all day. I'm in construction. It's like my feet get kind of not that great, and I have to file them down with like an industrial belt sander. It's like. And, I like painting them. I really do. I think it looks better, and it's something me and my daughter could do. She's like, Daddy, are we going to paint our nails? I'm like, yeah, sure. I don't know. I just think it's interesting because him and Christ is King, they were, basically, calling me gay, whatever. And it, like, an attempt to make me feel bad for doing, like, I know I paint my nails, I know what I look like. I know when I dye my hair. It's like, your hair's dyed. Yeah, I did it myself. Like, I was there when it happened. Like, why would you think I would feel bad for something I knowingly do? You know what I mean? Like, I don't. And then I was thinking, like, okay, let's break this down. Let's say you made me feel bad for the way I look. Like, okay, I'm not socially accepted by my peers because I'm doing something that's so off the scale that they need to call it out. And then I'm like, well, but I don't want to look like you. Like, there's nothing you're bringing to the table that makes me go, God, I wish that guy's right. I wish I looked like him. It just makes me kind of wonder, like, we all have our personal opinions. And I was thinking about it. I'm like, have I ever left a disparaging comment on the way someone lifts or the way someone looks? No. And that's not to say I've never talked about another person on YouTube before. We got a couple of trolls that I've gotten into talking smack to, but generally speaking, if I'm on the internet and I'm browsing the comment section of any number of people, it never would occur to me to call someone out for the way they look. It's just like, it's not the point of the video. It's not the video topic. And it's like, what point are you trying to make? It's like, if you don't like something I do, I don't know. It's like you're trying to make me feel bad for choices I've made, or like, kind of says more about you than me. You know what I mean? Anybody that, generally speaking, if they call you out on your looks or something you're doing, I've noticed it's people that either can't do it themselves or they're kind of jealous or there's something going on with them that they feel that they have to tear you down. I was jokingly saying I have this system that I use to determine whether or not I'm going to change my behavior, and it's an XY axis of 1 to 10, and X being can they kick my ass? So on a scale of 1 to 10, can you beat me up? And then the Y axis is will I ever see them? Will they actually ever come confront me in person? So you could be like a 10 on the X axis, like you would batter me unrecognizable up and down the street, but you could be a 1 on the Y axis saying you're not going to ever do anything about it, so I'm not going to change my behavior. Or you could be a 10 on the Y axis saying you're coming to Vegas and you're going to tell me to my face what I think. But you could be a 1 on the can you kick my ass and I'm just going to laugh at you. And here's what I'm going to tell you. Nobody on YouTube that I've seen said, well, Tommy, and there's a couple of you that if you did show up to my house, I would be like, oh shit. But I would still get in the ring with you. But for the most part, they're not anywhere on that scale that's going to make me change my behavior. I'm just going to be me. And then, who was it? I'm a big food dude. Says you need to recalibrate your scale. Like, I guess to imply, like, what you'd be able to kick my butt. And I said, well, hey, man, come on to Vegas. We'll go over to Artist Boxing and Polly, referee, we'll go a few rounds, see what you got. And then afterwards, maybe we'll get a burger or something. It's Vegas, right? Make a vacation out of it. Hey, you guys ever make it to Vegas, you want to get in the ring with me, look, I'll do it. We'll throw some pads on, we'll throw some gloves on, and we'll go a few rounds. 100%. I would absolutely love it. But then Christ is King did go on to say, what about wrestling? And I was like, ew. Yeah, I would do it, but I'd probably get my butt kicked because I don't have a good ground game. I have what the Marine Corps taught, and we practiced that. But yeah, I'll still do it. Anyway, this video's getting long. I've talked enough crap. I got to get to training. I love you guys, and I will see you on the battlefield.